Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Frontier and watched the stars bend around them. The ship's new faster-than-light drive hummed quietly as they traveled deeper into unknown space. It had been 3 months since Earth's first starship left the solar system, and Jake still couldn't believe they had actually done it. "Captain, we're picking up something on the scanners," said Lieutenant Ryan Davis from his station. "It looks like a ship, but it's not like anything we've seen before." Jake walked over to look at the readings. The shape on the screen was long and curved, with strange markings along its hull. "Can you tell if it's friendly?" "They're sending U.S.'s signal," Ryan said. "It's in English, sir." Jake raised an eyebrow. "English? How is that possible?" The main screen flickered to life, showing a tall, blue-skinned creature with 4 arms and large golden eyes. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect English. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Kethver of the Zilrani Confederation. We have been waiting for your species to join us among the stars." Jake glanced at Dr. Lisa Brooks, who was standing nearby. She was Earth's best expert on alien life, even though she had never seen any before today. Lisa stepped forward and spoke carefully. "Hello, Ambassador. I'm Dr. Lisa Brooks. How do you know our language?" Kethver smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "We have been watching your world for many years. Your species shows great promise. We would like to invite you to join our Confederation of Peaceful Worlds. Over the next few hours," Kethver explained that the Zilrani Confederation was made up of over 50 different alien species. They worked together to explore space, share technology, and protect each other from danger. He showed them images of beautiful worlds and amazing cities. "Your people would be welcome in our confederation," Kethver said. "We offer protection, advanced technology, and trade with dozens of worlds. All we ask is that you allow us to help you grow and prosper." Admiral Helen Carter, who was listening from Earth through the ship's communication system, spoke up. "This sounds too good to be true. What do you want in return?" "Nothing that would harm your people," Kethver replied smoothly. "We simply ask that you allow our peacekeepers to help protect your outer colonies. Space can be dangerous, and new species often face threats they cannot handle alone." Jake felt something wasn't right, but he couldn't put his finger on it. The offer seemed perfect, maybe too perfect. But Earth needed allies. Humanity had just learned they weren't alone in the universe, and they were clearly not the most advanced species out there. Over the next few weeks, more Zilrani ships arrived. They brought gifts of technology and offered to help Earth build better starships. They also provided maps of nearby star systems and information about other alien species. Dr. Brooks worked closely with the Zilrani scientists, learning about their biology and culture. She noticed that they seemed to know a lot about humans, more than they should have from just watching Earth from a distance. "Something bothers me about them," she told Jake one evening. "They answer questions about us that they shouldn't know the answers to." Jake nodded. "I've noticed that too. But Admiral Carter thinks we should accept their offer. Earth needs this alliance." The formal ceremony took place on a Zilrani space station near Jupiter. Representatives from Earth, including Jake, Lisa, and Ryan, traveled there to sign the agreement that would make humanity part of the Zilrani Confederation. The station was impressive, with long corridors filled with aliens from dozens of different worlds. Jake saw creatures that looked like walking trees, others that floated in the air, and some that seemed to be made of living crystal. "Welcome to the Confederation," Cuthbert said as they toured the station. "Your people will be safe here." But Jake noticed something strange. Many of the aliens they passed looked tired and scared. When he tried to talk to some of them, Zilrani guards quickly moved between them. "Why can't we speak with the other species?" Lisa asked. "They are busy with their duties," Cuthbert explained. "Perhaps later you will have time to meet them properly." The signing ceremony was held in a large hall filled with representatives from different worlds. Jake signed the document that would make Earth part of the Zelrani Confederation, but he felt increasingly uncomfortable. After the ceremony, Jake decided to explore the station on his own. He found a section that was supposed to be off-limits and slipped inside. What he saw there made his blood run cold. Aliens from dozens of species were working in terrible conditions, mining valuable materials from asteroids. They wore chains and looked like prisoners. Zelrani guards watched them with energy weapons. Jake tried to back away quietly, but one of the guards saw him. "You should not be here, human," the guard said, raising his weapon. Jake ran. He made it back to his ship and immediately contacted Admiral Carter on Earth. "We've made a terrible mistake," he said. "The Zelrani aren't our allies, they're slave masters." But when Jake tried to leave the station, he found that the Zelrani had locked down all human ships. They were trapped. Kethfer appeared on the ship's communication screen, and his friendly expression was gone. "I'm afraid you've seen too much, Captain Morrison. Your species has potential, but you need to learn your place in our confederation." "You lied to us," Jake said. "We offered you a choice," Kethfer replied. "Join us willingly or join us by force. Either way, humanity will serve the Zelrani Confederation." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but he wasn't going to give up without a fight. Earth needed to know the truth about their new allies. That night, Jake and his crew made their escape. They fought their way through Zelrani security and launched their ship into space. Zelrani fighters chased them, damaging their ship badly. But they managed to jump to faster-than-light speed. As they raced back toward Earth, Jake knew that everything had changed. Humanity wasn't joining a peaceful confederation. They were about to become slaves to an alien empire that had fooled them completely. But Jake also knew something else. Humans didn't give up easily. If the Zelrani wanted a fight, they would get one. Admiral Helen Carter sat in the emergency meeting room at Earth Space Command headquarters. The faces around the table showed shock and anger as they listened to Captain Jake Morrison's report. He had returned from Zelrani space with terrible news, and now Earth's leaders had to decide what to do. "You're telling us that this entire confederation is built on slavery?" asked Senator Paul Grant, his voice shaking with disbelief. Jake nodded grimly. "I saw it with my own eyes. Dozens of alien species working as prisoners. The Zelrani have been lying to us from the beginning." General Amy Rodriguez slammed her hand on the table. "We need to prepare for war immediately. If they're coming for us, we need to be ready." "Wait," Senator Grant said. "Maybe we can still negotiate." Perhaps Captain Morrison misunderstood what he saw. "I didn't misunderstand anything," Jake replied. "Dr. Brooks and Commander Davis are still prisoners on that station. The Zelrani made it clear that humanity will serve them, one way or another." Admiral Carter looked at the star charts on the wall. Earth's outer colonies were spread across a dozen star systems, all of them now vulnerable to attack. "How long do we have?" "Not long," Jake said. "Their ships are faster than ours, and they have weapons we've never seen before. They could be here within weeks." While the politicians argued, Jake was already planning his next move. He had left friends behind on that Zelrani station, and he wasn't going to abandon them. He found Lieutenant Commander Tony Martinez in the ship preparation bay. "Tony, I need a small, fast ship and a crew of volunteers," Jake said. "We're going back for Lisa and Ryan." Tony looked up from the engine he was working on. "That's suicide." "Sir, the Zelrani will be expecting us." "Maybe, but we can't leave them there. Besides, we need to learn more about their military capabilities if we're going to fight them." Major Kate Sullivan overheard their conversation and walked over. "Count me in, Captain. I've been studying the combat footage from your escape. I think I know how to get past their defenses." Meanwhile, on the Zelrani station, Dr. Lisa Brooks was trying to help her fellow prisoners. She had been moved to the mining section with aliens from many different worlds. Most of them couldn't speak English, but she was learning to communicate. Through gestures and simple drawings, Commander Ryan Davis was being held in a different section, but he had managed to get a message to Lisa through other prisoners. He was organizing a resistance group and needed her help. Lisa discovered that the aliens around her had been prisoners for years, some for decades. They had given up hope of ever being free. But when she told them about Earth and how humans never gave up fighting, some of them began to listen. "Your people fought back?" asked a creature that looked like a walking plant. Its name was something Lisa couldn't pronounce, so she called it Branch. "Always," Lisa said. "Humans have a saying, 'Give me liberty or give me death.' We would rather die fighting than live as slaves." Branch translated her words to others in the group. Soon, aliens who had been silent for years began talking about fighting back. Lisa started teaching them what she knew about military tactics from Earth's history. Back on Earth, the first attacks began. Zelrani ships appeared at the edge of human space and attacked the mining colony on Kepler 442b. The colonists sent desperate messages for help before their communications went dead. Admiral Carter promoted Jake to Admiral and put him in charge of the rescue mission. "Get our people back," she told him, "and bring us information about how to fight these aliens." Jake took a small fleet of Earth's best ships toward Zelrani space. His crew included Tony Martinez, Kate Sullivan, and 50 other volunteers who knew they might not come back. On the Zelrani station, Lisa had made an amazing discovery. The different alien species had never worked together before because they couldn't communicate with each other. Each species spoke a different language, and the Zelrani kept them separated on purpose. But Lisa was a scientist, and she was good at solving problems. She created a simple sign language that different species could learn quickly. Within days, aliens who had never spoken to each other were sharing information and making plans. Ryan had been doing the same thing in his section. He taught the aliens about Earth's military history, showing them how smaller forces could defeat larger ones through clever tactics and teamwork. "The Zelrani are strong, but they're used to fighting enemies who give up easily," Ryan explained to a group of mixed aliens. "They don't know how to handle an enemy that fights back smart." The resistance was growing, but they needed weapons and a way to communicate with the outside. That's when Lisa made another important discovery. The Zelrani used an artificial intelligence system to run their station. If they could access that system, they could send messages to other stations and coordinate uprisings across the Confederation. Jake's rescue fleet reached the edge of Zelrani space and began their approach. They had learned from Jake's first encounter and came in quietly, using asteroids and space dust to hide their ships. "Remember," Jake told his crew, "we're not here to win a battle. We're here to get our people and gather intelligence. Hit fast and get out." The attack began at dawn, station time. Jake's ships struck the station's defenses while Kate Sullivan led a boarding party to find the prisoners. The Zelrani were caught off guard by the human tactics, which were unlike anything they had faced before. In the confusion, Lisa and Ryan led their alien allies in a coordinated breakout. For the first time in decades, the different species worked together against their captors. The Zelrani guards found themselves fighting enemies who knew the station better than they did. Jake's team rescued about half the human prisoners, but Lisa chose to stay behind. "Someone needs to keep organizing the resistance," she told Jake through the radio. "These aliens are ready to fight, but they need leadership." As Jake's fleet escaped with the rescued prisoners, he realized something important. The Zelrani were powerful, but they had a weakness. They had never faced an enemy that could unite their victims against them. Back on Earth, the rescued prisoners told their stories to Admiral Carter and the other leaders. The evidence was clear. Humanity faced an enemy that had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved billions of beings. "We can't fight them in a traditional war," Admiral Carter said. "They're too strong and have too many ships." Jake looked at the these in star charts again, but this time he was thinking differently. Maybe we don't need to fight them traditionally. Maybe we need to fight them the way humans have always fought when we were outnumbered. General Rodriguez leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "Guerrilla warfare," Jake said. "Hit and run attacks. Strike where they're weak and disappear before they can respond. And most importantly, we help their other victims fight back." As reports came in of more attacks on human colonies, Earth's leaders realized they had no choice. They were going to fight the Zelrani, but they would do it the human way. They would take the fight to the enemy and show the galaxy what happened when you tried to enslave the human race. Admiral Jake Morrison floated in his spacesuit outside a hidden asteroid base, watching construction crews work on humanity's secret weapon. The asteroid looked like any other rock in the belt, but inside it was hollow and filled with the most advanced shipyard Earth had ever built. "How many ships can we build here?" Jake asked Chief Engineer Danny Walsh through his radio. Danny's voice crackled back through the static. "If we work around the clock, maybe 50 ships in 6 months. But these won't be like anything we've built before." Jake pushed himself through the airlock and into the base. The inside was a maze of metal walkways and construction bays. Sparks flew as workers welded hull plates onto the first prototype ship. The vessel was long and thin, painted in a black coating that seemed to absorb all light. "The stealth coating works better than we hoped," Danny explained as they walked toward the ship. "Zelrani sensors can't detect our ships until they're almost close enough to touch." General Amy Rodriguez was waiting for them in the command center. She had been working with Earth's best military minds to develop new fighting tactics. "We can't match their firepower," she said, "but we don't need to. We just need to make them afraid to leave their bases." Captain Beth Turner looked up from the tactical display she was studying. "The key is to never fight fair. Hit their supply ships, destroy their communication stations, and disappear before they can respond." Jake studied the plans they had developed. Instead of building a few large warships like Earth's old Navy, they were creating many small, fast ships that could operate alone or in small groups. Each ship would have a crew of only 20 people, but they would be specially trained for this new kind of warfare. "What are we calling this fleet?" Jake asked. "The Black Fleet," Danny said, pointing to the dark ships under construction. "They're painted black to absorb radar and light. When they're powered down, they're almost invisible against the darkness of space." Colonel Sam Foster walked into the room carrying a data pad. "I've been reviewing reports from our people still trapped in Zelrani space. Dr. Brooks says the resistance is growing, but they need more time to organize." Jake nodded. "Then we'll give them time. Every Zelrani ship we destroy is one less they can use to hunt down rebels." Over the next few months, the Black Fleet took shape. Hidden shipyards and asteroid fields and behind gas giant moons worked constantly to build the new vessels. Each ship was designed for a specific purpose. Some carried powerful weapons for hit-and-run attacks. Others were equipped with advanced sensors for spying on enemy movements. A few were built as mobile repair bases that could hide in deep space. Captain Alex Warren commanded the first completed Black Fleet ship, the USS Shadow. His crew had trained for months in the new tactics, learning how to strike fast and vanish without a trace. "Remember," Jake told Alex before his first mission, "we're not trying to win big battles. We're trying to make the Zelrani afraid to travel alone." Alex's first target was a Zelrani supply convoy heading toward human space. The convoy consisted of 3 cargo ships and 2 escort fighters. In the old days, Earth would have sent a battle cruiser to fight them directly. Instead, Alex used a different approach. The USS Shadow waited in the shadow of a small moon until the convoy passed by. Then Alex fired 2 missiles at the cargo ships and immediately powered down his ship. The Zelrani escort searched for hours, but found nothing. By the time they gave up, Alex was already 50 light-years away. Major Nina Roberts commanded the second Black Fleet ship, the USS Phantom. Her mission was to destroy a Zelrani communication relay that coordinated military movements in 3 star systems. Nina's ship approached the relay station by pretending to be space debris. The station's sensors detected a small asteroid drifting toward them, nothing unusual in that part of space. When the asteroid was close enough, Nina's ship came alive and destroyed the relay with a single blast. Back on the Zelrani station where Dr. Lisa Brooks was still organizing the resistance, the effects of the Black Fleet attacks were already being felt. Zelrani commanders were nervous and confused. Ships that had always traveled safely were disappearing without explanation. How are the humans doing this? She heard one Zelrani guard ask another. Our sensors show nothing, but our ships keep getting destroyed. Lisa smiled as she pretended to work at her mining station. The resistance had grown to include aliens from over 30 different species. They had learned to work together using her sign language system, and they were ready for the next phase of their plan. Commander Ryan Davis had been moved to a different facility, but he had managed to train a group of alien commandos in Earth-style guerrilla tactics. They were preparing to sabotage the station's main power systems when the Zelrani decided to fight back. All prisoners will be moved to maximum security cells, announced the station commander. Any resistance will be met with deadly force. But the Zelrani had waited too long. The different alien species were no longer afraid and isolated. They had hope, and they had learned to fight together. The uprising began during the night shift when fewer guards were on duty. Lisa's group took control of the mining equipment and turned it into weapons. Ryan's commandos disabled the station's defensive systems. Within hours, the prisoners controlled half the station. Meanwhile, the Black Fleet continued its campaign across the Zelrani space. Captain Warren's squadron destroyed automated mining platforms in the Kepler system. Major Roberts' team eliminated communication relays that had coordinated Zelrani military responses for decades. Each attack was small, but together they created chaos throughout the Zelrani Confederation. Supply lines were disrupted. Military commanders couldn't communicate with their fleets. Automated systems that had run smoothly for years began to malfunction. Admiral Jake Morrison coordinated the campaign from a mobile command base hidden inside a nebula. The base moved constantly, never staying in one place long enough for the Zelrani to find it. "The enemy is starting to panic," reported Colonel Foster during a strategy meeting. "They're pulling ships back from the front lines to protect their supply routes." "Good," Jake said. "That gives our people in the colonies more time to evacuate or prepare defenses." Captain Turner brought up a holographic display showing Zelrani military movements. "They're changing their tactics. Instead of small patrols, they're sending large fleets to escort their cargo ships." "Then we change our tactics too," Jake replied. "If they want to send 20 ships to protect one cargo vessel, we'll let them. But while those 20 ships are playing escort, we'll hit targets they've left undefended." The war was becoming exactly what Jake had hoped for. The Zelrani had superior technology and more ships, but they were fighting an enemy they didn't understand. Humans didn't fight fair. They didn't follow the same rules that other species used in warfare. Back on the captured station, Dr. Brooks received a message through the resistance network. The uprising was spreading to other Zelrani facilities. For the first time in generations, the enslaved species were fighting back in a coordinated way. "The humans have shown us something important," Branch told Lisa during a planning meeting. "You don't defeat a stronger enemy by being stronger. You defeat them by being smarter." Lisa nodded as she looked at the mixed group of aliens around her. They had learned to work together despite their differences, and they were teaching other prisoner groups to do the same thing. The Black Fleet was growing larger every month as new ships rolled out of the hidden shipyards. Each vessel was painted in the same light-absorbing black coating and crewed by volunteers who understood they might never see Earth again, but they also understood something else. They were fighting not just for humanity, but for every species that had been enslaved by the Zilrani. The war had become bigger than Earth's survival. It had become a fight for freedom itself. As Jake watched another Black Fleet squadron disappear into the darkness of space, he knew the real war was just beginning. Captain Alex Warren watched his target through the USS Shadow's main screen. The Zilrani supply depot hung in space like a metal spider, its arms reaching out to dock with cargo ships from across the Confederation. This wasn't just any supply station. It was the main fuel depot for the entire sector. "How many ships are guarding it?" asked Lieutenant Tim Brooks, Alex's second in command. 12 fighters and 2 heavy cruisers, Alex replied. 6 months ago, that would have been impossible. Odds, today, it's just another Tuesday. The Shadow was part of a 3-ship squadron that had been hunting together for weeks. They had destroyed 6 communication relays, 4 mining platforms, and countless supply convoys. The Zilrani military was starting to change how they operated, but it was too late. Major Nina Roberts contacted Alex from her ship, the USS Phantom. "We're in position on the far side of the depot. Give us the signal when you're ready." The 3rd ship in their group was the USS Ghost, commanded by Captain Pete Miller. His ship carried special equipment for jamming enemy communications. When the attack began, the depot wouldn't be able to call for help. "Remember the plan," Alex told his crew. "We hit the fuel storage tanks first. That will create enough chaos to cover our escape." In another part of Zilrani space, Commander Ryan Davis was leading a very different kind of mission. He had been rescued from the prison station 3 weeks ago, but he hadn't returned to Earth. Instead, he had volunteered to lead a mixed team of humans and freed aliens on ground missions. "The target is a command center on the planet's surface," Ryan explained to his team. "Intelligence says it coordinates military operations for this entire region." His team included 6 humans and 12 aliens from 4 different species. They had learned to work together so well that they moved like one unit. Branch, the plant-like alien that Dr. Brooks had befriended, served as Ryan's translator and tactical advisor. "Zilrani guards change shifts every 6 hours, Branch said in the broken English he had learned. "We attack during change. Guards confused, not ready." Ryan nodded. "That gives us maybe 10 minutes to get in, plant the explosives, and get out." Back in space, Alex's squadron began their attack on the supply depot. The USS Ghost jammed all communications while the Shadow and Phantom struck from opposite directions. Alex's ship hit the main fuel tanks with precision missiles while Nina's ship destroyed the docking arms where cargo ships connected to the station. The explosions lit up space like a small sun. Secondary explosions followed as stored fuel ignited and spread fire throughout the station. The Zilrani defenders fired blindly into space, unable to see their attackers through the flames and debris. "All ships withdraw immediately," Alex ordered. The 3 Black Fleet ships powered down their engines and drifted away from the burning station like pieces of debris. By the time Zilrani reinforcements arrived, the attackers had vanished. On the prison station where Dr. Lisa Brooks was still organizing the resistance, the effects of the Black Fleet campaign were becoming obvious. Food shipments arrived late or not at all. Equipment broke down and couldn't be repaired because replacement parts weren't delivered. Most importantly, the Zilrani guards were nervous and made mistakes. "The supply lines are breaking down," Lisa told a gathering of resistance leaders from different species. "The Zilrani can't maintain their empire if they can't move supplies between their worlds." A crystalline being named Shard spoke up in the sign language Lisa had taught them. "Our people on the industrial worlds report the same thing. Production is slowing because raw materials aren't arriving. Lisa smiled. Then it's time for the next phase. We don't just escape from these prisons. We take control of them and use them as bases for our own operations. The coordinated uprising began on 17 different Zilrani facilities at the same time. The prisoners had been communicating through a secret network that used maintenance tunnels and supply systems to pass messages. When Lisa gave the signal, rebellions broke out across an entire sector of space. Admiral Jake Morrison watched the reports coming in from his mobile command base. The war was going better than he had dared to hope. The Black Fleet now had over 200 ships operating in small squadrons throughout Zilrani space. Each week, they destroyed more enemy facilities than the week before. The Zilrani are pulling their fleets back to protect their core worlds, reported Colonel Sam Foster. They're abandoning their outer territories to concentrate their forces. Good, Jake said. That means they're losing control of their empire. How are our people on the ground doing? Captain Beth Turner brought up a tactical display showing the latest intelligence reports. Commander Davis and his teams have destroyed 12 command centers in the last month. The resistance is now active on over 50 worlds. Jake studied the reports with satisfaction. The Shadow War was working exactly as planned. Instead of fighting the Zilrani fleet directly, humanity was destroying the infrastructure that held their empire together. But the enemy wasn't giving up without a fight. Fleet Admiral Zethkal, the Zilrani military commander, had finally realized what he was facing. The humans weren't just fighting a war. They were teaching every enslaved species in the Confederation how to fight back. We must crush this rebellion before it spreads further, Zethkal told his commanders during an emergency meeting. Focus all our efforts on finding and destroying the human fleet. The Zilrani began using new tactics. They sent out fake supply convoys as bait, hoping to lure Black Fleet ships into traps. They used long-range sensors to search for the human command base. Most dangerously, they started targeting civilian populations as punishment for resistance. Activities. Captain Alex Warren learned about the new Zilrani tactics the hard way. His squadron attacked what they thought was a supply convoy, only to discover it was a trap. 20 Zilrani fighters were waiting in ambush. "It's a trap!" shouted Lieutenant Brooks as enemy ships appeared on all sides. "They were expecting us." The USS Shadow took heavy damage before Alex could get his ship away from the ambush. 2 other Black Fleet ships weren't so lucky. The USS Wraith and USS Viper were destroyed, along with 40 human crew members. The loss hit the Black Fleet hard. For the first time since the war began, they had lost ships in a direct battle. Admiral Morrison called an emergency meeting of all squadron commanders. "The enemy is adapting to our tactics," Jake told the assembled captains. "We need to be smarter and more careful. No more attacks on targets that seemed too easy." But even as the Black Fleet faced new challenges, the resistance movement was growing stronger. Dr. Brooks had escaped from the prison station and was now coordinating uprisings across multiple worlds. Commander Davis had trained dozens of mixed species commando teams that were operating throughout Zilrani space. The war had become something the Zilrani had never faced before. Instead of fighting one enemy, they were fighting hundreds of different resistance groups that worked together but operated independently. Every time they crushed one uprising, 2 more started somewhere else. "The humans have done something impossible," Branch told Dr. Brooks during a strategy meeting on a liberated world. "They have united species that have been enemies for thousands of years." Lisa looked out at the diverse group of beings working together in the command center. Aliens who had been slaves for generations were now free and fighting for the liberation of others. The human gift wasn't just military tactics or advanced technology. It was the simple idea that different people could work together if they shared a common goal. "The Zilrani Empire is falling apart," Lisa said, "but we need to be ready for their final desperation. When they realize they're losing, they'll try to destroy everything they can't control. As reports came in of more successful attacks in liberated worlds, Admiral Morrison knew the Shadow War was entering its final phase. The Zelrani Confederation was crumbling, but the enemy still had thousands of ships and billions of soldiers. The real test was coming. The Black Fleet had proven that humans could fight and win against impossible odds. Now they had to prove they could finish what they started. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled prepare for battle. For 2 years, the Black Fleet had fought in the shadows, striking targets across Zelrani space. Today they would reveal themselves to the galaxy. "All squadrons report ready," said Colonel Sam Foster. "We have 300 ships in position around the Zelrani home system." Jake looked at the tactical display showing enemy positions. The Zelrani had pulled their entire fleet back to defend their capital world. Over 2,000 ships surrounded the planet where their government had ruled the galaxy for centuries. "Remember, we're not here to destroy their world," Jake announced to all ship captains. "We're here to show them that nowhere is safe from humanity. Begin Operation Nightfall." Across the star system, Black Fleet ships suddenly appeared on Zelrani sensors. The stealth coating that had hidden them for so long was turned off, revealing the true size of humanity's secret navy. Ships emerged from behind moons, asteroid fields, and gas giant rings like ghosts becoming solid. Fleet Admiral Zethkol watched in horror from his command ship as human vessels appeared everywhere. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded. "Over 300, sir," his sensor officer replied with a shaking voice. "They're surrounding the entire system." On the surface of the Zelrani capital world, Dr. Lisa Brooks and Chief Engineer Danny Walsh worked frantically in the central computer complex. They had infiltrated the planet weeks ago and were now ready to execute the most important part of the human plan. "The AI control network is more complex than we thought," Danny said as he connected his equipment to the main computer system. "But I think we can overload it." Lisa watched the screens showing the artificial intelligence that had managed the Zelrani Confederation for hundreds of years. This computer system controlled everything from supply shipments to military communications across thousands of worlds. "If we can crash this system, their entire empire will collapse into chaos," Lisa said. "Are you ready?" Danny's fingers moved across his control panel, uploading the virus now. This should cause system failures throughout their network. In space, the Black Fleet wasn't engaging in traditional battle. Instead of attacking the Zelrani fleet directly, they struck the infrastructure that supported it. Captain Alex Warren's squadron destroyed fuel depots while Major Nina Roberts' ships eliminated communication satellites. "Sir, the humans aren't fighting our fleet," reported a Zelrani officer. "They're attacking our support systems." Zethkol realized what was happening. "They're trying to strand us here. Without fuel and communications, our ships will be helpless." But it was too late. Across the star system, human ships methodically destroyed everything the Zelrani fleet needed to operate. Repair stations exploded in brilliant flashes. Supply ships carrying food and ammunition were vaporized. Command centers that coordinated fleet movements went dark one by one. On worlds throughout the galaxy, the resistance movement launched coordinated attacks. Commander Ryan Davis led a strike team that liberated the largest prison complex in Zelrani space, freeing over 10 million enslaved beings from dozens of different species. "The uprisings are spreading faster than we expected," Branch reported to Ryan as they watched alien species celebrate their freedom. 60 worlds have declared independence in the last hour. The AI virus that Lisa and Danny had planted was working perfectly. Computer systems throughout the Zelrani Confederation began malfunctioning. Automated defenses turned against their creators. Supply shipments were rerouted to rebel worlds. Military communications became scrambled and useless. "The network is collapsing," Danny announced as warning lights flashed throughout the computer. "Complex. Their AI is trying to fix itself, but our virus is adapting faster than it can respond." Fleet Admiral Zefko tried desperately to coordinate his fleet's response, but his communications were failing. Ships couldn't talk to each other. Sensor systems showed false readings. Even the basic navigation computers were giving wrong information. "Fall. Back to the planet's surface," he ordered. "We'll make our final stand there." But Admiral Morrison had anticipated this move. As Zelrani ships tried to retreat to their homeworld, they found Black Fleet vessels waiting for them. The human ships didn't try to destroy the enemy fleet. Instead, they disabled their engines and weapons, leaving the Zelrani ships drifting helplessly in space. "Attention Fleet Admiral Zethko," Jake broadcast on all frequencies. "Your empire is finished. Your AI network has collapsed. Your enslaved worlds are free. Surrender now, and your people will be treated with mercy." Zethko looked around his bridge at the chaos surrounding him. His magnificent fleet was powerless. His confederation was falling apart. The humans had done something he thought was impossible. They had united the entire galaxy against him. "How?" he asked weakly. "How? Did you defeat us?" Jake's voice came through the speakers one last time. "You never understood what you were fighting. You thought you were facing one species, but you were fighting for the freedom of every being you had enslaved. You weren't just battling humanity. You were battling hope itself." The surrender came 3 hours later. Zethko's remaining ships powered down their weapons and awaited instructions from the Black Fleet. Across the galaxy, Zelrani forces laid down their arms as the news spread. Dr. Brooks stood in the main square of the Zelrani capital, watching as freed slaves from hundreds of worlds celebrated together. The diverse crowd included every type of being she could imagine, all united in their joy at finally being free. "What happens now?" asked Branch, who had become one of her closest friends. During the long fight, "Now we build something better," Lisa replied. "A galaxy where all species are free and equal." Within weeks, representatives from over 200 worlds gathered for the first Galactic Assembly. The meeting was held on a neutral world with delegates from every species that had been part of the Zelrani Confederation. Admiral Morrison addressed the assembly as Earth's representative. "Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy," he said. "We fought this war not for conquest, but for freedom. Every species has the right to govern itself and choose its own path among the stars." The assembly voted to create the Galactic Republic, a voluntary alliance based on mutual respect and cooperation. Unlike the Zelrani Confederation, no species would be forced to join, and all members would have equal voices in galactic affairs. Captain Alex Warren was promoted to admiral and given command of the Republic's new peacekeeping fleet. The ships were painted white instead of black, symbolizing the change from shadow war to peaceful cooperation. The Black Fleet served its purpose, Jake told Alex during the ceremony. "Now we need something different. We need protectors, not warriors." Dr. Brooks became Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Republic. Her experience in bringing different species together made her the perfect choice for the role. Her first act was to establish universal translation protocol so that all species could communicate easily. Commander Davis founded the Republic Military Academy, where beings from all worlds could learn to work together in defense of freedom. The Academy's motto was simple: unity through diversity. Chief Engineer Danny Walsh led the effort to share human technology with other species, while also learning from their advanced sciences. The exchange of knowledge led to breakthroughs that benefited everyone. Years later, Jake stood on the observation deck of a space station orbiting Earth, watching ships from dozens of worlds arrive for the annual Freedom Day celebration. Galaxy had changed beyond recognition. Where once there had been fear and slavery, Now there was cooperation and hope. "Do you ever regret how it started?" asked Lisa, who had come to Earth for the celebration. Jake thought about all the friends they had lost in the war, and all the suffering that could have been avoided if the Zelrani had chosen differently. "I regret that it was necessary," he said, "but I don't regret that we did it." The Black Fleet had accomplished something remarkable. They had taken humanity's greatest strength, the ability to unite different people for a common cause, and used it to free an entire galaxy. The age of the Zelrani was over, and the age of freedom had begun. As Jake watched the celebration below, he knew that humanity had found its true place among the stars. Not as conquerors, but as liberators. Not as rulers, but as friends to all who valued freedom.